PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
It's Kim versus TC in the battle of the lists.
My list is better.
My list is better.
My list is better.
No, it's not. My list is better.
Kim or TC, who has the better list? From Subject Cinema, this is Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and TC Kirkham.
Hey guys, welcome to another week here on Front Row 5 and 10, brought to you by the good people that bring you Subject Cinema. That would be me and him, me being Kim Brown.
And the him being TC Kirkham. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
It's list time again on
It
Front
is.
Row 5 and 10, our Subject Cinema spin-off here, and we're having lots of fun doing it. If you'd like to contribute ideas for a list, we'd love to hear from you.
We would.
I mean, we have plenty of ideas on our own, but we're always glad to get ideas from you guys so we can throw it in there. And if you send us an idea, we'll not only give you credit for it on the air and on the website, but also some kind of prize will probably figure in somewhere. I don't know what.
Absolutely.
But please send them in, front row at PNRNetworks.com.
Mm-hmm.
This was your list.
This is my list.
And
yes,
it's a
it
5
is.
and 5 week this week.
Yes,
we got
it
two
is.
5s this week.
My list is top 5 comic book superheroes who need to be in movies and top 5 comic book supervillains who need to be in movies. Now,
I don't know if I call some of mine super villains.
well,
They're villains.
costumed villains,
Or-
however you want to word it.
Well,
you know,
not even
comic
that.
book villains.
Not even that, in some ways.
Okay, whatever. The whole point of this list is pretty much what it says on the till.
Mm-hmm.
As long as this character, whomever you pick, has not been featured in a big screen movie so far, they make the list. They can have been talked about, or anything like that, but they can't have been in a movie yet.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay?
You want to start with the heroes or the villains?
I think we should start with the bad guys.
Okay.
So since it was my list, you get to go first.
All right. My number 5 bad guy is, I don't know that you could actually call him a bad guy because he doesn't really have his own mind.
Okay.
He has somebody behind him,
Right.
his creator.
Okay.
He has the ability to absorb anyone else's superhero power and use it against them.
All right.
He's a DC bad guy, most notably, usually in the Justice League comics, called Amazo or Amazo. I've never figured out exactly.
I always figured it was Amazo.
I did too. Created, if I'm not mistaken, and I forgot to look it up, by T.O. Morrow, but that might be wrong. I know he created another bad guy too. He was created by one of the bad guys in the Justice League universe, but Amazo is like this 8-foot tall android, and he has the ability to, I don't know whether you could actually say, if he absorbs it, he doesn't absorb it, he just is able to, well, yeah, he can do,
Yeah.
he can do them right down to every little aspect of it.
Does he have to touch somebody to absorb their powers? He can it has to be in the same room with them?
I don't really remember. It's been a while since I've read through them, but I always liked the concept of the character. You can tell it's. I'll be honest. I have not been an avid comic reader for a while.
Neither have I.
I've been reading comics since I was a kid, and I have comics that I love from a kid when I was a kid, and I still read old issues of stuff, but I haven't kept up on a lot of the new stuff.
I keep up on
There's too much out there anymore.
I keep up on the big storylines and stuff like that, and new characters. And
you want to
things
keep
like
up
that.
on stuff? Comic Grotto with Aunt B and Pee Wee.
Yep.
Nice plug.
Yep, that was a very nice plug.
My number 5, Amazo.
Okay.
And I'm going to look up which whose creator was while you do your number 5.
Okay. My number 5 is a DC villain.
I have to be honest, all of mine are DC.
Okay.
I don't do Marvel that well at all, so all of mine are from DC. Sorry.
All right, well, that's fine. Mine, I kind of flip back and forth between Marvel and DC. So, my number 5 is Metallo. Metallo is a Superman villain, which will become very obvious why in a moment. He was at one point a man, just a regular criminal named John Corbin, but he became he became encased in a cybernetic body with a heart made of kryptonite, and so he has definitely been a thorn in Superman's side for many years, because it's kind of hard to approach a villain who can literally kill you by just standing there, you know. I think that would be a really interesting character to see on the big screen. I just think it would be kind of cool myself. So my number 5, Metallo.
Which kind of kryptonite does he have?
Green.
Green, okay. Amazo was created by Professor Ivo.
Oh, okay.
I knew he was one of the bad guys. And yes, he does absorb the powers directly.
Right.
So the heroes lose their abilities.
Oh.
My number 4 has gone through a number of different iterations, the way that's been written since it was first created. But I'm going all the way back to the original. Not the kind of psychotic version that came later, and not the couple of other people that have used the title in recent years, if my mind is correct. I'm going back to the golden age of comics.
Okay.
My number 4 is Cheetah from Wonder Woman. Cheetah was originally a Wonder Woman Golden Age version villainess, which means she was part of the Wonder Woman that appeared with the Justice Society, as opposed to the one that appears with the Justice League. Her real name, I believe, was Priscilla Morris? Rich. Okay. I knew it was something. And she was kind of out there, but she wasn't nearly as out there as the later versions, where she was completely batshit insane.
Right.
Bat-snit insane. Sorry. Whoops. Slipped. Sorry about that. I love the costume, number 1. Looks great. Not trying to make any Harvey Weinstein things here.
No.
Because she happened to be an attractive lady in a catsuit.
Yeah.
I'm just saying she happened to be an attractive lady in a catsuit. She was also absolutely, determined.
Out of her mind.
Well, I don't think she was out of her mind in the beginning, in the early days, when she was going against Wonder Woman 1 from Earth 2. If that's going to make any sense, see Crisis on Infinite Earths. She was always going after Wonder Woman. She was teaming up with other villains from Wonder Woman. I'm sure she comes up in the new movie that we haven't yet seen. We're going to go see it hopefully this weekend. But it would be fun to see her. And of all the female villains out there, I think she would be the most interesting to really use on the big screen. Either in a Wonder Woman film, or as a Justice League villain, or even in one of the others. She'd be great with Flash. I could imagine her character getting quite a few barbs in against Ezra Miller's version of Barry Allen. And I don't know. Well, the whole thing that bugs me about that is he's actually playing Barry Allen with Wally West's sense of humor. So I'm like, okay, why are they doing that? Anyway, number 4 on my villains list, Cheetah.
Okay.
Golden Age.
That's a really good choice. I'm going to have to actually change one of mine, because I guess he might have been mentioned in Spider-Man Homecoming, so I'm going to have to change one of mine.
We didn't see it.
No, actually, no, we haven't seen it, and I don't think it's actually. I think he's just mentioned, so I think that's a.
Okay, just do it.
My number 5 is the Scorpion.
4?
I'm sorry, it's 4. Sorry. The Scorpion is a character that is a Spider-Man villain, and it's a guy in a suit that has a scorpion's sting on the end, usually electricity or some kind of, force beam or something to that effect. When he was originally brought in, now this is actually going to get a little bit confusing, and I'm not sure they could actually do this now. Scorpion was originally brought in because J. Jonah Jameson, the publisher of the Daily Bugle, for years has had this unreasonable hate on for Spider-Man. And
it's not unreasonable hate. He's the editor of a tabloid newspaper. Of course he wants to have a story. Give me that story on Spider-Man right now, Parker.
But the whole thing is, you think a guy like Jameson would want Spider-Man around because he generates news. But no, his whole thing is that Spider-Man is a menace and blah blah blah. Never mind that Spider-Man doesn't, shoot people like the Punisher, but whatever. And he got this guy this outfit to go after Spider-Man. The problem was that Spider-Man pretty much handed his butt to him, and then now you have this guy in this dangerous suit that has a hate-on for Spider-Man and a hate-on for a civilian. So, stuff gets a little bit crazy. Apparently there was some mention of him in Spider-Man Homecoming, but he wasn't the focal point. Right. So that's why I was kind of
We're going to cheat that because we didn't see it yet. It just came on demand, so we'll be seeing it soon, finally.
Yeah. I think it would be cool. I think if they did the outfit right, because in the comics it's this kind of a green outfit with this long... The thing is, it's a scorpion tail, but it doesn't have a stinger. It doesn't have like a sharp... I think that would kick butt if they gave him like a black, or maybe not a black outfit, but a darker green outfit, and the tail that had like some kind of like hook or some spear or something in the end of it. That would be badass.
Like Mortal Kombat's version.
Yeah. Without it coming out of his hand and doing the whole "get over here" that thing. Ow. Trying to have testosterone voices hurts. Ow. So I
thought it was pretty good though.
Thank you. My number 4, the Scorpion.
My number 3 is the biggest magical badass in the DC universe. And I had to...
That's saying a lot, because there are a lot of
There's
them.
a lot of magical person, but there's only one that really has... He's like the Saruman of the 30th century.
Okay.
My number 3, Mordieu. Mordieu is the malevolent... Is that the word? Mm-hmm. Malevolent wizard that often goes against the Legion of Superheroes and the people associated with them in 30th century Metropolis. The only thing that can stop his evil magic is being buried alive. And they've done that several times.
That'll usually stop most people.
Yeah, he always gets out of it somehow, though. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun, and the idea of seeing Mordieu on the big screen with anybody would be fun.
Now, what does he look like? I mean, he just looks like some dude in a robe or something?
He looks like Gandalf, but with bushier hair and shorter.
Bushier, shorter hair, or he's shorter?
He's shorter.
Oh.
And he has like bushier hair. Not as long and bushier. I think. Okay. And Ian McKellen was who I was going to suggest to play it, but
like Alfred Einstein.
I can't really. No, not that bad. Okay. It's longer than that, and he always has a wizard's hat on. So it's like.
So he's from the 30th century, but he dresses like Merlin.
Yeah, but he's not. Well, no, not completely like Merlin. He doesn't always have the hat on, but he has it on in a number of. Comics I've seen. And even Superboy and Supergirl, when they've traveled to the 30th century, are vulnerable to magic. So he's kind of hard to defeat.
Well, yeah.
And he's a lot of fun. I mean, he would be good with any of the heroes. You could introduce him. Because, I mean, they do seem to be like throwing heroes that don't necessarily belong in places where they don't belong in the movies. But it's interesting. And I think he would be fun to watch. And like I said, I would suggest Ian McKellen, but he's already done X-Men, so that kind of lets him out of that. Yeah. So let's ask Michael Gambon to do it, because we know he can do Dumbledore, so it'd be good to be Mordieu. Number 3.
That's good. It sounds like an interesting character. I don't know about Michael Gambon. He's like, he's so identified now as kindly old grandfather.
Yeah, but Richard, what's his name, is dead now.
Well, yeah,
Richard.
Harris,
the guy that,
Harrison.
No. The guy that played Dursley.
Oh,
I've forgotten his name. That's terrible.
Gosh.
We saw him in Equus with Daniel.
Richard
Griffith is dead now, but he was great. Except he was a little too chunky, though.
What about Tim Curry?
No, he's too young. Oh, he hasn't had the right look.
All right.
He hasn't had the right look.
All right.
David Bowie would have been awesome.
I was just thinking that. I was going to say that out loud, but I was like,
Anyway, number 3, Mordieu.
Okay. My number 3 is, I have to be honest, I don't know who I want cast in the other roles either. I mean, if I sat there and thought about it, I could probably try and come up with somebody. But I will be perfectly honest, I have no idea who in the blankety blank I would cast in this role.
Okay.
My number 3 is a gentleman who was born with the name Sergei Kravenov. He is known to comic fans as Kraven the Hunter. Kraven the Hunter is, once again, a Spider-Man enemy.
20 years ago, I would have suggested Jake Roberts.
20 years ago, that wouldn't have been bad.
Yeah. Now, I don't know.
No, I do, and no. This guy...
Daniel Bryan's too short.
Who?
Daniel Bryan. He's too short.
He's also too ginger.
Oh, yeah, okay. But you could fix that.
You could.
Dye and wig and stuff.
I guess,
anyway.
but he's too short. Sorry, Brian. Kraven the Hunter is basically PETA's worst nightmare come to life. This guy considers himself the world's greatest hunter, tracker, killer of fuzzy things, and occasionally attempted stomper of spiders. He has gone after Spider-Man time after time after time, over and over and over again, trying to prove that he is the best hunter there is by tracking down Spider-Man, who he now considers like a mortal enemy. The really interesting thing about Kraven, besides his outfit, which looks like it's half of a lion, it's like he skinned a lion and is wearing it, which I'm like, okay, that's going to go over really well with the Furs murder crowd, is the fact that you really need somebody that's going to pull off the fact that this guy he considers himself an honorable man. Now, I've said before, and I still stick with this, nobody gets up in the morning thinking, well, today I'm going to be evil. Nobody does that. It just doesn't happen. Everybody justifies stuff in their own head. This guy, his whole thing is that he is a hunter and he feels like what he's doing, he's proud of it. He doesn't feel like he should be ashamed of it, but he's got his own code of honor. He won't go after certain people in certain situations. If he feels like a debt has been satisfied, then it's done and he'll walk away. Mm-hmm. So he's got his own code of honor, and that's admirable, but there's the whole fact that he's backguano crazy. I just think it would be really interesting to watch this character on the big screen just to see who would play him and how much scenery they could chew up. Because you can't play this part small. You really and truly can't. My number 3, Kraven the Hunter. Your turn.
Austin.
Steve Austin?
Yeah.
Have you seen Kraven? Mm-hmm. Kraven, who has a full head of luxurious black hair?
You don't need to do it. Yes, and Hugh Jackman is 6'1".
Kraven is Russian.
I know, but you can get around things. In the movies. We're talking the movies.
Fine, we're talking the movies.
Ezra Miller doesn't look like Barry Allen in the comics either.
No, but
Barry Allen is tall and blonde.
No, I realize that, Precious, but I really don't think that Stone Cold Steve Austin could fake a Russian accent if his life depended on it.
I'll give you that. Rusev is too fat to play
What's he going to say? Do svidaniya, y'all?
That's nice. That's nice.
Sorry, Steve.
My number 2 would be Wordless.
I don't know that villain.
No, that's not the villain.
I don't know who that is.
Because number 2 of all of the villains that need to be used hasn't had a chance yet because the DC universe isn't really off the ground yet.
Right.
But man, I would love to see them recreate that eerily creepy poster from the comic book that came out in the late 50s, early 60s. My number 2 is Starro the Conqueror.
That's a trigger word.
She hates that character.
I hate this character. Oh,
Starro is basically this gigantic sentient starfish from outer space.
I'm all oogied out now.
And there's a picture of him with little Starros on the faces of the Justice League members, and it's like this huge poster, and it's freaky.
I am completely and utterly...
Starro could do for Justice League what Ultron did for Avengers, although I like the first Avengers movie better.
I am so skeeved out right now. I knew he was going to be on your list. I'm going, he's going to say it, and I'm going to have a full-on body twitch. And there it was.
Why does that skeeve you out so bad?
I don't know. It's just... Yes! I cannot deal with, like, face hugger stuff. I just can't. And his eye stuff. It's this one staring eye in the middle of his head, body, both. And the little clones that he spits out that attach to people and brainwash them. And he does
doesn't
talk.
brainwash them. He talks telepathically.
Yeah, he talks telepathically.
But it's still wordless.
Well, it's
voiceless.
It's voiceless.
It's telepathic.
Yeah. All right.
And you know, and he doesn't brainwash them. He just controls the brain. That's not the same thing.
All right, fine. He takes over their minds.
Once you can get the star off, you're fine.
Right. Yeah. He takes over their minds with these little
telepathic trindle things.
Yeah, and I'm like,
he is absolutely. And that picture, I swear, came right out of the movie. What was it called? It Conquered the World?
No. It's a Starman. It's from
But
Japan.
they have a name for it, though.
Probably.
It's in one of our books, and the
I don't
picture,
know.
it looks exactly like the Justice League poster. So they obviously got the idea for it from that movie. But
I'm
it's like,
sorry.
wow.
I was like, it's coming. I know it's coming.
I
There it is.
love that character. Number 2, Starro the Conqueror.
I gotta go hide in the corner now. I am all oogied out. I am totally triggered.
We're going to start a campaign to get Starro in the next Justice League.
I am going to slap the living taste out of your mouth in a minute. You're going to be the one paying my therapy bills, buddy. My number 2 villain that I want to see on the big screen is actually somebody you've already mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
My number 2 is the cheetah.
Yep.
I
thought that might be the one we might tie on, because I know you like that character, too.
I do. There have been several, and I mean several, incarnations of the cheetah over the years, including a male version of the cheetah, which is...
Oh, have there? I didn't know there was a male version. I'm sorry.
That's going... I'm not going to touch that. I think, me personally, would like to see the Priscilla Rich version as well. And for those of you out there who may not be into comics as much, that are going to whine, oh, she's just some Catwoman knockoff, she's not.
No, Catwoman is very intelligent. She's got a mind like a steel trap, and she can think her way out of things. Priscilla is more of a Jeff Hardy type villain.
Well, see,
think later, do things now.
See, the thing is, I disagree with you.
All these wrestling references.
I think that Priscilla is mentally ill. I mean,
oh, she is. But she's not completely bat guano crazy until like the second or third iteration. She's on the border in the original.
In the original, the reason that she became the cheetah was because she was so jealous of Wonder Woman.
Yep.
And the cheetah was literally her reflection talking back to her. It was another personality that basically took over her body.
Right.
I'm not a psychologist and I don't play one on TV, but that sounds like dissociative identity disorder to me.
Okay, fine. That's true. I'd forgotten about that, but that's true. Yeah.
I just think it would be really interesting to see this character. I would love to see. I would love it set in the time frame it was set in the 40s.
40s, yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like it to happen. Probably isn't going to.
Back when Wonder Woman was Wonder Woman and Themyscira was still Paradise Island.
Yeah. Sorry, I know. We harken back to the old stuff. I know. But my number 2 person that I'd like to see on the big screen, the cheetah.
My number 1 villain that they need to use somewhere in the DC universe is, I've always found him to be inherently creepy in the and when he's been on in the cartoons occasionally and on off the wall,
as opposed
and
to
in
the giant
comic books.
alien starfish. That's not creepy enough for you.
Well, that's creepy in an alien sort of way. This guy's creepy in an intelligent undead sort of way. My number one villain I'd like to see included in a major motion picture is Solomon Grundy, the original badass risen from the dead.
Okay, I'm kind of confused.
Look him up.
No, I know who Solomon Grundy is, but intelligent?
He is. You just don't know it.
Okay.
In his old day. No, he
You're talking about when he was a Green Lantern bad guy.
Back then, he was also in a few things. And again, he was the Golden Age Green Lantern, but he became a modern age Green Lantern when they brought him back. He's
most people know him as a
intelligent
Batman
in the
villain.
way that he thinks. He talks like like Bizarro, and he.
Well, he's dead. You can't expect somebody to be a cunning linguist if they're dead.
Right, but it's instinctually he knows what to do.
Okay.
Without any problem. Short him up. Now, I would like to see them give him a bit more of a mind if they bring him to the big screen. But don't use him like they used Bane in Batman and Robin. That would be wrong.
That would be horrible.
Although Christopher Nolan's Bane, either. So it's like,
I wish I knew you why. I wish I knew why you had that problem because I don't. But that's
had what problem?
With Tom Hardy's Bane, you complained
Tom
about
Hardy who talks like who sounds like Christopher Plummer talking through a drain in that movie.
Really?
Yes, really.
Okay, that's fantastic.
It's like General what's his name from Star Trek 6, but it's like listening to it through a drain.
General Chang.
General Chang, right? Anyway,
and once again, everything in life revolves back to Star Trek.
Classic. I'd also like to see what they would do with the makeup, and I'd like to see how they would bring this character.
Well, considering how hot zombies are right now, that's actually that's really smart on your part. That's really interesting.
I think I've always liked the character too. I mean, he's not the smartest knife in the drawer, but
no.
But he managed.
Well, he's dead. I mean, give him a break.
That doesn't mean you can't be smart. Dracula's dead too, and he's wick smart.
Well, but Dracula's a vampire, and Solomon Grundy is technically probably a zombie. Right. So there's that.
I know. Actually, he's a ghoul, wouldn't he be?
Does he eat corpses?
No.
Then no.
Okay. Anyway, my number one villain I'd like to see on the big screen, the original undead badass Solomon Grundy.
Okay. My number one villain that I would like to see on the big screen, I actually admit that this one I actually have a problem with because there are several incarnations of this character, and honest to blog, I don't know which one I would pick. My number one, Clayface. There have been several incarnations of Clayface. Several different people have taken on the Clayface name.
Probably the one that was in Batman the Animated Series.
I would actually want to use that one. If I had to pick one and say which, someone said which one do you want to make a movie about, I would pick that one. Mm-hmm. The Clayface from Batman the Animated Series was an actor named Matt Hagen, who was using this makeup to, work on his face and do all these disguises and things. But as it turns out, the makeup that he was using was addictive and dangerous. He was exposed to a large quantity of this stuff by the gangsters that were actually making it. And it transformed him into Clayface, this gigantic, monstrous figure. I just think that would be a really cool character. There's so much you could do with it, CGI-wise. I think it would be absolutely bananas, the stuff you could do with it. I always found his character to be kind of tragic. And I think that would be really cool to put on screen. And like I said, if you got really good CGI, you could go absolutely nuts.
Any casting?
Casting, I don't really have any.
Because he can shapeshift.
Right.
So.
See, that's the thing. He can look like anybody he wants.
Right.
And he can also use his own body as a weapon. He can, like, literally drown someone in himself. Like, extensions of himself. And that sounds kind of disgusting, but I can't come up with any other way to word it. So my number one supervillain that I would like to see on the big screen, Clayface.
Yeah, that'd be good. Those would be fun.
Awesome. So now we've done the dark side, so now let's run frantically over to the light side because... Knock it off.
Oh, you said dark side. I don't know how to do Darkseid, the character. I can't do the voice, so.
I was going to say,
they always gave him a really kind of a wimpy voice in the
cartoons.
What are you
talking about?
I don't think I think it'd
gravelly
be
voice.
Yeah, but it should be as gravelly as what they're doing with Josh Brolin in the Marvel universe. And it's
all right, so anyway. Now we're looking at our top 5 superheroes that have not made it to the big screen yet.
Yep.
So you get to start.
My number 5. I have been trying to think of casting. I don't really know, because Gal's already done Wonder Woman. You can't have her do another character.
No.
But I've always liked this character, and I've liked all the different looks that she's had over the years, but I would be taking the one look that she had in the mid to late 80s when she was a member of the Justice League. And an absolutely terrific character. And I would like to see just how... see how I put this. I would like to see how, I can't come up with a term for it. I want to see how somebody can pronounce words backwards on the screen. Mm-hmm. My number 5 is Zatanna. Zatanna is a great character. She's been utilized occasionally. She has appeared in the small screen on Smallville, and she's also appeared on the cartoon series a few times, but she's never been brought up onto the big screen. And if DC gets the right story, the right casting, and tells her backstory with her father Zatara and how she came to be, and just don't put her in that silly top hat and tails with fishnets, because I always liked the character, but that look always drove me up the wall. I was like, that is the most sexist costume. I mean, I know it was the 60s and things were different back then, but I loved the flowing robes that she had in the version that was part of the Justice League. She was just awesome that way. I don't know who I would cast. There's a lot of great, beautiful young actresses that could play the character. Without question, Adrienne Palicki comes to mind.
Ooh. Her hair's
probably
not dark enough.
But she's had it that dark. And she could probably do a better at that than she did as Wonder Woman. And that wasn't her fault.
No
that
offense,
was David Kelly's script. Didn't like that at all. My number 5, the all-enchanting wizardess, Zatanna.
Excuse me. My number 5 is a character that, honest to goodness, I don't know why this character hasn't made it to the big screen yet. He needs a movie. He needs a solo movie. I don't care if after that, I don't know what they do with him. I mean, I don't think they could, he's not like, he's definitely not a team player, so putting him with the Avengers, I think, would be right out. My number 5 is Moon Knight from Marvel Comics. Moon Knight was a man that became Moon Knight's backstory involves mysticism and ancient Egypt and Egyptian gods, and it's crazy stuff. I think that Moon Knight would be an awesome character to have on the big screen simply because I think his outfit is cool as hell. I mean, if you have to Google a picture of him, Google it. I don't care. I'm just like, I think this would look so sick on the big screen.
I'll have to look it up later because I know the name, but I have no idea who the character is. So.
Okay, well, that's cool. I don't know who I'd want to play him. I don't really know. I mean, I feel bad that I didn't come up with this part of it, but
No, don't, because I haven't come up with casting either on the line, so.
So my number 5, Moon Knight.
Okay. My number 4 has always been a favorite character, which is odd because a lot of people don't really like the character. The character's gone through a few changes over the years. But they're all changes that have, I mean, this guy is the original retconned character. He died, then he came back, then he died again, then he came back, then he died again, and he came back, and he died again, and he came back. He's been dead and back at least 8 times by this point.
Okay.
You can do that with an android. Doesn't really hurt you. My number 4 is Red Tornado. I love this character. I'm talking the android that is known as John Smith, not the Ma-Hunkle Red Tornado from the Golden Age, who wasn't really a superhero anyway. She was more of a charlatan, like Uncle Dudley was Uncle Marvel. Red Tornadoes started off as a faceless android-sounding character, and when they continued to bring him back, they started developing more and more characterizations around him. Eventually, his creator was T.O. Morrow, gave him the sculpted face, actual body, a human sounding voice, and it made him a lot more personable. I don't know. I always go for the speed oriented characters, maybe because I'm such a turtle. I don't know. I mean, anymore, especially with the bad knees that I have. I have trouble getting around sometimes. But, Flash is my favorite, one of my favorite heroes. And Red Tornado has always been cool, too. Not to mention the fact that I'd love to see how they would accomplish spinning the bottom of his torso. Because you can't do that to a human. It'll kill them. And I love the costume. The red and gold costume, not the bland red and gray thing that was originally introduced. I know he's been a mentor on the Young Justice television series. I haven't really seen much of that, so I'm not sure how they played him there. But I always enjoy the character, and I'd like to see him on the big screen. Red Tornado, number 4.
Okay. Next up for me is a character that I really think that whatever they would do with this character would be really interesting. I would actually introduce the character, and then I would introduce him in one movie and then do a movie all about his backstory. My number 4 is the Phantom Stranger.
Ooh, I forgot about him. Yeah, I'd love to see them do that too. I love that character.
The Phantom Stranger is one of the most fascinating characters I've ever read about. He also has...
I don't know that you could actually do a backstory movie, though, because I don't think he really has one. It keeps changing.
Actually, he has... There have been at least 4.
Yeah, it keeps changing.
The one that seems to stick the most, the one that... I'm not sure if DC has put a stamp on it and said, yes, this is the right backstory, is the theory that the Stranger is a fallen angel. That when Lucifer and his angels rose up against God and his legions, because Lucifer was all like, I'm not bowing to humans, I'm going to do my own thing. And the whole thing was this one angel, didn't side with either heaven or hell. So he wound up being kicked out of heaven, but he wasn't sent to hell. He was just sentenced to walk on the earth forever. Now, I think that's the one that they've actually brought up in a lot of the literature that I've read. Mm-hmm. That's the one that the word, I'm assuming the word might be God. I don't know. Okay. I'm not sure. They don't actually use the word God. Mm-hmm. The word said the Phantom Stranger was a fallen one, and usually when that's talked about, that usually means fallen angel. Uh-huh. Now, I realize that talking about religion, and specifically going into one religion specifically, in this case, Judo-Christianity, I realize that might turn some people off. I think they might be a little bit like, "Ooh, that's too much of a hot potato."
But you don't have to go with that particular backstory.
You don't have to go with that backstory, but the other backstories the other two are even, those also deal with religious elements. The only other one is one that's the idea that the Phantom Stranger might be the remnant of the universe that was here before. And that's going into places that make my head hurt. I am not doing that.
Yeah, that'd make even Jack Horkheimer's head hurt, God rest his soul.
I'm sorry. No, we're not going there. No. The thing is, the Phantom Stranger doesn't usually... He doesn't, he will fight when he has to, but he's usually at the beginning and the end of a story. He's kind of like a narrator or a chorus or something to that effect. So I would think that doing something like, now this is a weird concept, I admit, doing something like an anthology movie where he is dealing with the opening and closing of each chapter, I think that would be cool.
So they've done that. It's called The Hitcher. Or The Hitchhiker, or whatever it was HBO had on years ago.
I think that would be cool to do on the big screen. And like I said, doing an origin movie after that would be really interesting. And I have no clue at all who I'd cast for this.
Oh, wow. I was expecting the name Misha Collins to come out of your mouth.
It did cross my mind.
Of course it did.
But
There's a shock!
But I was trying to be like, I think Misha would like to probably get out of the whole angel character maybe for a little while, if that's okay with him. I thought about Hugh Jackman. I don't know. I actually think, and
his face is always obscured when you see him.
Yes, he was.
So it would need to be somebody that could be obscured, and you don't want to obscure Hugh. He's too good looking.
He wears a hat, and his face is always kind of shaded. I would kind of, you're going to think this is crazy casting, but I actually think Daniel Craig would be really interesting in a character like that.
I could see that. Yeah. I could see that entirely.
Or Mads Mikkelsen.
Ooh, yeah, there you go. I love Mads. He's awesome.
Me too. So, my number 4, The Phantom Stranger.
My number 3 is actually a superhero team.
Okay.
Now, they've never been brought to the big screen. I don't know. I think they did a cartoon or two in the 60s on the small screen. But let me ask you this. What do you think of when you think of these 5 heroes? Okay?
Yeah.
The heroes are super smart but have no real fighting ability. There's a fighting ability that's really good in water but not on land. One who has the ability to fly, but he definitely needs a tailwind to do so because he's a little heavy. One that can shoot arrows like Green Arrow but can't stand the sight of people looking at him. And one person who is just like able to lift a car off of somebody while going, "Ooh, what does this button do?"
Really?
Yeah. Will you give me any clues? Any hints?
Oh, I know who you mean.
I'm talking about Berryman, Awkward Man, the Blimp, White Feather, and Dumb Bunny, the Inferior 5. This was a comic back in the 1960s. They revived it for a little while in the 1970s, and they've had a couple of little 1 or 2 issue revivals throughout the 90s also. These characters are in their mid-20s. They're all the offspring of big superheroes in their little universe.
In their universe, which is not the normal DC
No, it's
universe.
One of DC's offshoot, Infinite Earth universes. And they're just not very good at it. Merryman is this pencil-thin Sheldon wannabe who wears a Jester's costume. Awkward Man is the son of the Superman-type character over there, and the Aqua Lady-type woman. He can fight really well in the water, but he's clumsy like Bella on land, like Bella Swan. The Blimp is an overweight... he can fly, and he looks like he wears a costume that makes him look like the Goodyear Blimp, only green. And he can only fly if there's a tailwind. He's the son of the Speedster in that universe. White Feather is the son of the Green Arrow type clone there, but he's afraid of people. And Dumb Bunny literally wears bunny ears on her head. It was a parody of the Playboy bunny, and she kind of looks like Jennifer from WKRP, the way Lonnie Anderson looked at her.
She's really beautiful, but she's dumb as a bag of hammers.
She's truly the bimbo that Dexter hired to replace Dee Dee in that one episode.
She's the punchline of every dumb blonde joke you've ever heard.
I think they could find something. This could be DC's version of Guardians of the Galaxy. Because God knows those are not nearly as good as everybody gives them credit for. I'm like, especially the first one. The second one was slightly better. If they just get rid of that twit in the front, we'd have a great team. I really think the Inferior Five would make a great movie. And they had actually tossed it around a few years ago. Back in like the mid 2000s, it had been tossed around as a potential pilot at one point for TNT, and nothing ever came of it. But it would be fun to see what they would do with it. The Inferior Five, my number 3.
Okay, wait.
What's wrong with the Inferior
Five? Nothing. It's just, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and considering that the DC universe, that has been one of the big complaints from comic fans and critics and pretty much everybody, that the DC movies are so grim, that they're so dark and so grim. Maybe
Justice League has a sense of humor from what I hear, so we'll see in a few weeks. About 3 weeks.
Yep. My number 3 is actually someone that you have already mentioned. My number 3 is Zatanna.
Woohoo!
I think that she'd be a really fun character to see on the big screen. Like you, I don't quite understand how you're going to do... I mean, the whole talking backwards thing, it wouldn't be hard to record. You'd just have her do her lines normally and then run them backwards when
but then it would sound backwards. You've got to learn how to pronounce them backwards. I think that would be the big point of the idea of the character. Learn how to actually do them backwards.
Huh. Wow.
I'm going to be picky that way.
Okay, well, that's fine.
I would have suggested Elizabeth Olsen if she hadn't already started playing Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
So.
That would have been good casting.
Yeah, she would have been good in that.
You know who I would actually think about casting in a role like that? Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Ooh, that's not bad either.
Yeah, I think she'd be really
I like
cool
her
in a
too.
part like
She's
that.
good in that too.
I mean, let's be honest. She's a favorite of a lot of dudes because her outfit when she first started was her outfit that she performed in. She started off as a magician, just, as an actual...
A stage magician.
And her outfit is...
Top hat, tails, and fishnets.
Yep.
Basically. There's no...
And you liked it.
Yeah.
And I don't blame you.
Yeah. I was 10.
I know, it's okay.
Or younger.
I ain't judging. I ain't mad at you. I don't think that's going to work nowadays.
As I said, I'd rather see the JLA costume. Mm-hmm. It was always good looking on her. The long flowing robe with the hood when she needed it, and those big Z earrings that she used to wear.
Yeah. Well, the outfit's changed since then.
Yeah, it has. Twice, I think.
Yeah. It's still pretty sexy.
Yeah.
She's a sexy character, but more than that, she's smart. She's a smart character, which is also something that I think, obviously that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. So my number 3, Zatanna.
My number 2, I'm going to go and I'm going to say, I'm talking about the original incarnation of this character. Okay. Because this character has been back and forth in the DC universe over the years, and every time they've given him different identities, different backstory, different, all connected to the same thing. But I'm talking about the one and the original that first premiered in the 1940s. And I'd like to they can bring it up to date if they want to, as long as they keep it, true to the idea of what he was at the time. And let me tell you, this guy isn't no faker like Dr. Stephen Strange. He's the real thing. I'm talking about Kent Nelson, a.k.a. Dr. Fate.
Rude.
Dr. Fate has, bar none, the coolest superhero costume ever. I have always loved the blue and gold when I was a little kid and I would run around playing superheroes with my friends, I made my mom buy me a pair of Playtex gloves that were way oversized because they were yellow, and then now I could play Dr. Fate. I was like 6. Don't judge me. The helmet is very cool. I love the original backstory, and I don't like. I mean, they've updated this, and he's got like 3. It's something like right now he's got if he's got the helmet on, he's a completely different person, and blah 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 blah. No, I like the original way where he actually was the reincarnation of an earlier Egyptian god of some sort in a modern day archaeologist named Kent Nelson. His headquarters was in Salem, Massachusetts. Another reason I like him. Mm-hmm. And he is, I mean, they did bring him to life in a few episodes of Smallville, and they were trying to stay true to, I think, the original version too. The costume was really good. Mm-hmm. I was impressed with the costume, but I loved that costume, and I loved his super formal, ways of speech and the spells that he used to do. And I'm just ragging on Doctor Strange because it was Benedict Cumberbatch. So, don't get me wrong. I love his Doctor Strange. I can't wait to see him interact with the Avengers. But it's like, that part was made for him. And just think, it could have been Keanu Reeves. That would have been interesting, but not as good as Benedict. And Joaquin Phoenix was way out there.
Do you have anybody in mind casting?
No, I don't. But he has to be blonde. Actually, I do, but nobody knows him.
Okay.
Luther Creek. Luther is now in his early 40s, and he's looking good, and he's got the little goatee and mustache. He looks really cool. Those of you who may not know Luther Creek, he's mostly a stage actor. He got his big fame with onliners as Mark in the original touring company of Rent, and he later played Roger in the Toronto company of Rent. And he is an amazing performer, great actor, unbelievably funny dude outside of that. And I think he would be, and he's like Mr. Skinny, which this character is. He's perfect for that role. Number 2, I want to see a Dr. Fate movie in the near future.
Okay. My number 2 character that I would love to see on the big screen, some people might be like, they might be a little bit like, he's too much like another character that has made it to the big screen finally and taken off, and everybody, went crazy for his movie. But I don't think so. I don't think the characters are alike at all. Even though they both have this really kind of irrationality to them, I think this guy is even more, the needle tips way more on the irrationality scale for this guy than against a certain Wade Wilson. Not that Wade isn't awesome. Love you. Love Deadpool. Great movie. My number 2 that I want to see on the big screen, Creeper. Or The Creeper.
Yike, you aren't asking for much, are you? That would be cool, especially if they cast it properly.
The Creeper is...
He's completely bat-snit insane.
Oh, he's gone.
Especially if you've ever seen him in like the animated stuff.
Yeah, the lights are on, but nobody's home. The wheel is spinning, but the hamster is dead.
One of DC's best, actually. I hadn't thought of that, but that's good. Yeah, forgot about him too.
The Creeper is possibly a superhero. Maybe
he's possibly a supervillain too. He's kind of in between of everything.
Well,
I
would say he's a superhero ? Vigilante, definite. Possible force of chaos, we'll go with that. And complete nutball. Check. I would go with the way the character. Now, this is my own take on it. The Creeper's other form, his alter ego, was a talk show host named Jack Ryder. In his original story, the Creeper came about through the workings of a scientist, and he could turn off and turn on being the Creeper. Later stories, they've actually introduced the idea that he's actually sharing his body with a demon, but I'm not even going to go there.
No.
The version that I saw that I know the most about was from Batman the Animated Series, and I was like, actually, it was the new Batman Adventures. I'm sorry.
You only like him because he has the hots for Harley Quinn in that one.
No, I like him because he confounds the Joker. I mean, you've got to be pretty nuts when the Joker's standing back going, this guy is not right. Mm-hmm. He was a newspaper man that was exposed to the Joker's lethal form of laughing gas, and then pushed into a vat of chemicals, and this caused...
What is it with DC and the vats of chemicals?
Well, you know.
Honestly.
Because radiation is Marvel's thing.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
And what came out was the Creeper. Mm-hmm. He can also control when he changes due to a patch that he wears. But he's not, he definitely isn't along the Bruce Banner, oh, woe is me, I'm torn kind of thing. Not that I don't love you, Bruce. Mark Ruffalo, great job, buddy. But the fact that Jack is willing to let his wild side come out and play, I think that would be awesome. You would have to be very, very careful with how you did the character. Mm-hmm. Because I will be the first to admit, and this is not a slam on anybody, physically, just the way he looks, mm-hmm. the Creeper is weird as beep. You'd have to really work to make the character look believable. There's almost something like him that I would actually kind of compare to Jim Carrey in The Mask.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the closest comparison.
Yeah. Only much, 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 much more violent. More like The Mask in the comics. Mm. My number 2, the character that I would love to see on the big screen, the Creeper.
Yeah. My number 1, again, is not a superhero per se. It's a team. And it's no big surprise as to who it is. Because
I know.
They are my all-time favorite comic, and I have never... I mean, they've gone through so many changes over the years that I haven't been able to keep up with them. But I do keep up with the characters and the ideas. Although, I would be the first to admit that when they did the animated series a few years back in the mid-2000s, they did the right thing, focusing on just a few members, because the membership right now is over 30, and it would get a little confusing. Similar to the way that they had like 8 or 9 characters going in and out of different segments of X-Men Days of Future Past, and you couldn't keep them straight without a scorecard.
Yeah.
But if you picked the central members and made them the focus, along with a few of the ones that the fans really love, with the others just kind of in the background, I know DC fans would come out in droves for the very first Legion of Superheroes movie. Set in the 30th century with these characters, have Cosmic Boy, or Man, or whatever he goes by now, and Saturn Girl, and Lightning Lad, the core of the group. Leave Superboy out of it. Let the locals handle it. Have Chameleon Boy, Bouncing Boy, Duo Damsel, and a few of the other ones around, although they're retired. They were last time I looked. And just have them go in and out, and you would have a lot of fun. Brainiac 5, when they brought him to TV in the cartoon, Brainiac 5 was an android. He isn't an android in the cartoon, in the comic books. But he was well done, and I have to like him because he was voiced by Alexander Ludwig, who I'm a big fan of. I would just love to see what they would come up with for sets and everything, because it's set in the 30th century, sort of 30th century Metropolis, as a matter of fact. They're all supposed to be teenagers, though, and I would not be... Oh, well, now they finally started moving them into their 20s, but I would rather see the original core group that are supposed to be 15, 16, 17 years of age that would really show off that teenagers can do something positive too, which you do not see very often in the films when it comes to superheroes, except Robin and a few of the other sidekicks. I have always adored Legion of Superheroes, and I always will. My number 1... heroes that need a movie. Legion of Superheroes. Legion of Superheroes. Woo-hoo.
Okay, that's great. And I figured that's what you were going to say.
Oh, yeah.
I figured it was either going to be that or Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo Crew.
Captain Carrot came very close.
In which case, I was going to throw something at your head.
I love Captain Carrot and his Amazing Zoo Crew.
Of course you do.
It would make, you have to admit, it would make a hell of a funny animated film.
The puns would be lethal.
I know, but it would be fun.
It would be fun.
President Mallard Fillmore.
The puns would be lethal. My number one...
Captain Carrot movie. Carrot movie.
Oh, what have I done? My number one character that I would love to see on the big screen as a superhero... I mean, he is a hero, I guess. I mean, well, he's making sure that the scales of justice are balanced. But I have to be perfectly honest. While I would love to see him in a movie, I think he would scare the living heck out of me. My number one is the Spectre.
Ooh, yeah.
The Spectre is a character who has been through a lot of changes over the years. Lots of retconnings. Lots of different people have been the Spectre.
Yeah, go with the original. Go back to the original. Go with Jim Corrigan.
Okay.
Don't go with the Hal Jordan thing, and that was too messed up.
Okay.
Just stick with the Golden Age.
All right.
Spectre.
Okay.
Or Spectre, as I like to call him. I didn't know it was pronounced Spectre until later. I was a kid. What do you want me to,
Ask an adult. Anyway.
My mom didn't know either. Oh, shush up. Anyway.
The Spectre from the Golden Age was a man named Jim Corrigan, who was a police officer who was murdered by some crooks and was not... When his spirit ascended to the afterlife, he was sent back to Earth by a being that was known as the Voice. Mm-hmm. Because I guess they couldn't say
God again.
And for some reason we can't say God. Okay, fine. To eliminate and destroy evil. He is a supernatural powered entity. Later incarnations of the character, he's referred to as the spirit of vengeance, the spirit of redemption, the avenging wrath of God. Mostly that's how he's referred to, is that what he's doing is enacting God's anger. Mm-hmm. Which I realize some people might be like, wait, what? That's kind of more of an Old Testament kind of view of God as opposed to a New Testament sort of, God is love kind of thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I realize this might be kind of a hot potato kind of thing for studios and such. But I think it would be really cool. I mean, there are you could actually draw a lot of comparisons between the character of the Spectre and the character of the Crow.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of similarities.
There's a lot of parallels. Although... the Spectre his magic is much more on a grandiose scale, the way he doles out punishment and stuff like that. I think it would be a really creepy movie. It would be cool, but I do think it would be. I'll be the first to admit that it would be, creepy as hell. The character has appeared, in live action stuff. On Constantine, the character of Jim Corrigan has appeared, and I just think that would be a really cool character. He's also appeared in Smallville in the form of a painting, which I'm like, okay, but I think it would be a really interesting character to see how you play something like that and not have it be overly frightening. And I just think it would be cool. I just think that I think they could do a lot with the character myself. Mm-hmm. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. My number one choice for a superhero that I want to see on the big screen, the Spectre.
Just as a real quick aside, you talking about things, it did bring up a couple more that I'd like to throw in as honorable mentions.
Go for it.
They're mostly one-shot characters, but I always liked them. Number one was the Green Team. I don't know if you remember them. There were two different incarnations, one in the 70s and one in the 2000s.
Well, you've talked about this to me, so I remember
the Green Team they're basically 12 and 13-year-old boys who are multi-millionaires and have these adventures. They had two of them in their own comic, and then the third one was published only in a non-available comic, just so they retained the masthead. They later brought it back in the 2000s, slightly revised it. It's now a little older, 15, 16, and there's a girl as part of it. And I love both iterations. I think that would be cool. The other one is Black Orchid. Black Orchid was only around.
She almost made my list.
She was around and very mysterious in the mid 70s. I know she's made other appearances since then, but I haven't really seen them. And I always liked that character too. Just because the name and the costume, it was really mysterious.
If I was going to do an honorable mention, I suppose I should. I think the one character that I think this would be cool, but I'm not sure how you could do it and not have it come off as offensive or insensitive. My honorable mention would have to go to the Rose and the Thorn.
That would be interesting too.
You know, the Rose.
Those are complex characters.
Yeah, the Rose and the Thorn it's a woman who is dealing with dissociative identity disorder. Rose is this meek, shy, kind of a doormat of a woman, and the Thorn is violent. She's a vigilante. And she's dangerous.
It's a great character.
Yeah,
that would be terrific if they did it right.
Yeah, that would be. I think it would be cool, but I'm just trying to figure out how you could do it and not have it come off as insensitive or what. I don't know
either, but maybe somebody can figure it out.
Pull it off. I would also like to bring up real quick this I actually didn't find out about till today. There was an animated film called Justice League Dark that had a lot of occult based DC
just
characters.
Came out a couple months ago. Yeah,
they are actually. There's been talk for a while.
There are plans of going live action with it.
Yeah,
yes.
of a live action Justice League Dark, and the characters that they want to include in that would be Swamp Thing, John Constantine, Jason Blood or Etrigan the Demon, the Spectre, the Jim Corrigan Spectre, Madame Xanadu, Deadman, and Zatanna.
Yeah.
So if that ever comes about, it'll be really interesting to see what happens.
And just because I feel the need to mention it, the one hero I never want to see on the big screen, even though we're going to get stuck with it because I know he's a part of the script, Guy Gardner.
Only if Batman punches him in the face.
He is part of the Green Lantern Corps movie, so I'm like they're all part of that. All four of them: Hal, Kyle, John, and Guy.
There was a scene in Justice League International where Batman punched Guy Gardner dead in the face.
I hate that character. I hated that character.
I laughed for about 10 minutes.
Okay.
I'm awful.
Let's run them up again. Okay. My top 5 villains were, number 5 was Amazo, number 4, Cheetah, number 3, Mordu, number 2, Starro the Conqueror, and number 1, Solomon Grundy.
Ow. Full-on body twitch. My 5 comic book supervillains that I want to see in a movie, going from 5 to 1, Metallo, Scorpion, Kraven the Hunter, the Cheetah, and Clayface, the Matt Hagen version.
Okay.
Any of them would be cool.
My top 5 heroes that need movie appearances are number 5, Zatanna, number 4, Red Tornado, number 3, The Inferior 5, number 2, Dr. Fate, the original Kent Nelson version, and number 1, Legion of Superheroes.
Okay. The top 5 superheroes that I want to see on the big screen, going from 5 to 1, Moon Knight, the Phantom Stranger, Zatanna, the Creeper, and the Spectre.
I gotta say, I would love to see what they would do with the Creeper on the big screen. Because that character is really bat-snit insane.
Oh, yeah.
It would be a lot of fun.
He is completely
Especially
gone.
if they could use him in the Harley Quinn movie. That would be a great way to bring him in.
I'll tell you one thing that I would do if I was going to do a Creeper movie. I would, and the temptation is there to do it, but I would stay away from it. Breaking down the fourth wall. Don't do it.
Yeah, because Deadpool does that, and it doesn't really need that.
That's why. Because Creeper doesn't need to do that.
Okay.
He just needs to have everybody around him be like, what the F is up with this guy?
So, as we said, we have a new show every week on Thursday, so we hope that you'll join us and give us any ideas that you can by sending us ideas for lists at frontrow@PNRNetworks.com.
Yeah.
And we will use them, we'll use them and give you credit and give you a prize of some sort.
Sure.
But for now, I have next week's list.
Oh, I'm all excited.
And it's going to be something you will enjoy because our next show is the last show we'll do before Halloween comes.
Yep.
So now it's time to put on your thinking caps, and you have complete leeway to do this however you want to.
Okay.
you're having friends in for a Halloween party.
Okay.
I want to know what 10 songs you would consider essential for the music soundtrack.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be anything spooky, but it has to be something that you
Appropriate
think would be
for-
appropriate for a Halloween party with friends.
Okay.
Sound
Awesome.
good?
Sounds
I have
great.
some ideas already, so it's going to be fun.
Okay.
Don't
sounds
forget
terrific.
to check out our other shows.
Yeah.
We have Subject Cinema right here on this same feed every Sunday. We are getting close to the end of Screen Streams for this year, and then we'll go into our movie menu as we do food movies in November.
Yep.
And of course, December, we're already, we have so much catching up to do. We're less than 3
we
months
do.
from the Poppies and Rosies.
Wow.
It's scary. And we haven't seen that many good movies this year. That's a big problem. Sundays around 7 p.m. Eastern on this very same feed. And our 2 mini shows from Subject Cinema. 3-Minute Weekend on Friday with all the new film releases. Tuesday Digidex on Tuesday with all the new home video releases. They last around 3 to 10 minutes with a complete rundown of everything, and we hope you'll check those out too. Those are both available on the 3-Minute Weekend feed. And you are back with Platinum Rose's Garden.
Platinum Rose's Garden is back for the season. I am back looking at season 13 of Supernatural, which started last week with episode 1 for the season. And so hopefully you guys will come and tune in this week for my review of episode 2, The Rising Sun. So I hope you guys will come and check that out.
Not the House of the Rising Sun?
No, it's Sun, S-O-N.
Wow, still, they could still use that whole pun. I'm
Well,
surprised
they're
they didn't
not,
use it.
so-
They usually do that. Don't forget to check out my show, Catastrophe Vortex. It's a couple days late this week. I did not have time to get it finished for Wednesday, so you can see it, you'll hear it this Saturday. All about disaster movies and the people who love them, like me. Big disasters, little disasters, really bad disaster movies, plus real life disasters, TV shows about them, and the like. CatastropheVortex.com. And don't forget to check out Comic Grotto with Aunt B and Pee Wee, all about comics and also movies and TV surrounding comics at ComicGrotto.com. And Cavebabble with Eric and Valerie Lyon, talking up movies, TVs, games, all things crazy to eat, and all from their wonderful Midwestern Missouri perspective. And they are available at Cavebabble.com, also on the weekends. Is that everything?
I think that's it.
Don't forget to check out the sites as well. We're always out there. And you can reach Kim on Twitter at Platinum Rose L. And I am, are you Platinum Rose L or Platinum Rose Lady?
Platinum Rose Lady.
Platinum Rose Lady. And I am eCinemaOne and eCinemaBoston TC. So definitely check us out on Twitter. Check out our Facebook at Popcorn and Roses. And everything else. And don't forget to spread the word. We can do more and more for you if you become a Patreon patron. $2 a month or more. It's super easy. Find the details at patreon.com/PNRNetworks. We could really use your help. And on that note, I think we should probably head out of here.
I think so. So this is Kim Brown.
And I'm TC Kirkham.
And we hope we can count on you to come back next week and count up whatever we're having on Front Row 5 and 10.
We'll see you then.
Bye.
You've been listening to Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and TC Kirkham.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.